Hey guys, rudeoff here, and I'm coming at you with my third episode in my Sony Vegas Pro 12 editing tutorials. And in this tutorial, we will be covering Twixtor and TwixtorPRO, which both should come in the exact same plugin, and they apply to many different editing programs. It is the best possible plugin to use for slow motion on any form of clip. So I will be covering the basics of how to use Twixtor and TwixtorPRO. Now, I just put a regular clip down here in my time frame, and I'm going to go ahead and just find a suitable beginning for the clip. Right click it, trim it to the start, and now we're ready to start editing. Now, the very first thing that has to be done before ever using Twixtor is you have to right click, switches, and disable your resample. If you do not disable the resample when using Twixtor, it will look terrible and your clip will be garbage. So you always have to disable the resample when editing with Twixtor or TwixtorPRO. Now that you have gotten that out of the way, you are ready to use your TwixtorPRO. Now, in this clip, there is a triple collat and there is quite a bit of running. Now, since there is one shot making one clip, I think that it would be suitable to make the running a little bit longer and much more dramatic than it is, because if you made the beginning longer, that would make it a much more dramatic shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a suitable ending point for my slow motion, and I'm going to go ahead and right click on my clip, and I'm going to split it as soon as I find split. And now that we have it split into two separate parts, I'm going to go ahead and trim my beginning part a little bit. Now that we have two separate parts, we are ready to put slow motion on this very first one, because I want to have very slow running up to this one shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my TwixtorPRO, because it's TwixtorPRO, not Twixtor. I'd rather use Pro. So I'm going to use one of my default 50%, which I already made. Here are the settings. If you want to make your own 50%, just hit the save button, give it a name, then you got your own 50% preset. And now that I have my 50% on this clip, you might notice that these don't match up anymore. The end of my clip is nothing like this one, but with the Twixtor off, there is not a difference between them. So when I put my Twixtor on, it does actually screw with the placement of the actual clip. So because I chose a 50% speed, this is really simple to fix. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into the time frame. I'm going to move this clip back. And when you're using 50%, basically the middle of the clip is now the end of the clip. So you have to double the size of the actual raw clip. So this little bar is at the very middle of the clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it and I'm just going to drag it so that that bar is located in the middle of my cursor right there. So now the end of my clip is much closer to that one. So now if we snap them together and we just go frame by frame, there shouldn't be a noticeable difference between the two at all. And there you go, you have your slow motion added on and they are now matched up. So now we have our 50% running speed and we just have a regular clip. But here is one of the few downsides to using Twixtor. Twixtor slows down the video of a clip, but it does not slow down the audio. So the audio does not match what's going on with the screen. So there are two options. You can make your own audio and just go ahead and mute this one, or you can just mute it completely and not make your own audio. Now in this situation, I'm just going to go ahead and mute it, because there's no point in listening to it if it makes no sense with the screen. See, I'll show you. If we have the audio on and we play it, you heard him take a shot. No shot was actually taken because the audio wasn't slowed down. So what I do is I turn off the audio completely so that there isn't that problem at all. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this the beginning of the actual video and snap them together one more time. And I'm going to add a second spot of Twixtor on this clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Twixtor after he takes the shot. Now, if you were to put Twixtor at this point in the actual clip, you'll notice that the edge of his scope is at the frame right here, and the very next frame, the edge of his scope is much farther inward. Now, when using Twixtor, you usually want to make sure that there isn't a lot of movement, especially when you're using something as slow as 1% speed, which is extremely slow. You could literally make 5 seconds last about 5 minutes, I think. You can make it last even longer than that. But if you put a 1% on, it's going to need very little movement in the actual clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a good spot where there isn't as much movement frame by frame. Now, if you were using something more than 60 FPS, this probably wouldn't be much of a problem. But because I'm using 60 FPS and most people use 60 FPS, I'm going to apply Twixtor to about right here because there isn't a whole lot of movement afterwards. I'm going to get my 1%. And I am not going to drop it on because I have not split my clip yet. So I'm going to right click it, I'm going to split it. That way it only goes on to this part, not the beginning. Now I can put my 1% on, and we have our 1% on our clip, and it moves extremely slow, as you can now see. So now we literally have this scope coming out for like 5 minutes. We're going to go ahead and trim this down just a little bit, give it a little bit of beautiful fade. And since we added Twixtor to this last clip, the audio is screwed up again, so we're going to have to take off the audio. And we could make our own, but I'm going to go ahead and not, because this shot was already taken in regular speed, and I'm going to leave that audio in there. And it should be ready to go. Now, there is one downside also to using Twixtor, is whenever you're playing the video, it is extremely laggy. And it doesn't flow very well. The audio will flow just fine, but the actual clip will be much laggier. And even if I drop the quality to terrible, like ew, it's still pretty laggy. It's not as bad, but Twixtor is really laggy, and you're always best off doing Twixtor at the very end because you do not want to deal with that while editing. Especially if you put Magic Bullet on top of Twixtor, it is going to be extremely laggy. So now we have our slow running speed, regular shot, and a 50% at the end of the clip. Let's go ahead and raise our volume just a little bit. I don't see why not. And now we have covered the basics of TwixtorPRO, and if you want to check out other percents, just experience them, you know, fiddle around, see what you can do, test them out, experiment, see what percents you like. Maybe my settings aren't as good, but, you know, let me know. That's the whole point in this tutorial, is to find the best way and everybody help each other out. So, as always, thanks for coming by, click the like button, subscribe, and do whatever it is you do with your booty.